Welcome to the Bible Forum. I am Warren Sprouse, your host and your guide for these 2 hours every Sunday night. We do this between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern Time every Sunday night. You can watch live from our website, thebibleforum.net. You can watch, hopefully, live from our our YouTube account. I have every hope and indication that this thing is running. I don't know if it's working. I can't be there too. We tried it on Facebook, but the sound wasn't right. I'm hoping that it'll be better on YouTube. But come Monday, usually, all of these things are uploaded on both the Facebook and the YouTube pages in categories and in whole so that you can go back and you can watch it. Not everybody stays up on Sunday night for this length of time and just stays glued to their computer for me. But we do have a bunch of folks who come back throughout the week and through the months, and they comment, and it's interesting. It's fun. We're going to celebrate Halloween this week. I want to talk about Halloween and other fun times. I'm wondering when it was that Halloween became a dark, murderous, satanic event. Well, it was largely, I think, when television and movies started portraying Halloween characters that way. Of course, Halloween has always been about the dark side. The word Halloween is actually a contraction. It is actually All Hallowed Saints' Eve. But we dress it up in less occultic and violent costumes, and we went about celebrating it that way. I'm talking about the 1940s, 1950s, when it was a neighborhood event. Two middle school girls were arrested in Bartow, Florida, just last Tuesday. They were plotting to kill 15 classmates as an act of Satan worship. According to the Fox affiliate there, two middle school girls, one 11, one 12 years of age, brought scissors, knives, and a pizza cutter to school with them that they might stab, kill, and otherwise dismember unsuspecting students in a school lavatory. The article said, quote, they wanted to kill at least 15 people, and they were waiting in the bathroom for opportunity to find smaller kids they could overpower to be their victims. According to CBN News, investigators believe the girls planned on drinking the blood of their victims out of a goblet in worship of the devil. Investigators were told by the girls that they hatched the plan over the weekend. Welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to a world where little children think this way. Why do they think this way? They have unfettered access to television and other newsy kinds of outlets online and around that portray this sort of thing. They have people, some of them men dressed as women, some of them women, both of them dressed in the most outlandish, occultic-oriented kind of garb you can think of, sitting down in grammar schools around the country reading to kindergartners and first and second graders. I've forgotten the books they're reading, but it's not Oliver Twist. I mean, it's heavy occultic-oriented stuff. And you've seen the pictures. These are grotesque-looking people. And they are portrayed as normal. I mean, that's normal for them. And you're not allowed to be critical. If you're critical, what are you? You're a bigot. You can't be happy that these people are being able to act out what it is they feel inside of them. So y'all watch television. Maybe you stay up late and you watch Bill Maher. I don't know. I've never really watched him before. I hear about him. I see the little video clips. It seems that in the days of the Trump administration, he's sort of gotten mellow. I don't know what his problem is. But apparently recently he kicked off a segment pointing to what he calls a liberal trap. Yeah, he was talking about Halloween. And he said, quote, "Now I personally don't care if you go trick-or-treating dressed as a 0.1% of Elizabeth Warren," talking about her DNA test. "That's up to you. But the Office of Scolding Social Justice Warriors has decreed no hula girls, no Indian chiefs, no Southern belles, no Daniel Boone, no geishas, ninjas, gypsies, mobsters, or terrorists. No Cleopatra, no pirates with one eye that might offend one-eyed people. And you can't dress as a hobo because it makes light of the homeless. And of course you can't dress as Quasimodo because it offends hunchbacks." He went on to point out the outrage over the recent sexy Handmaid's Tale costume that costume vendors and retailers yanked from shelves because people were outraged by the ironic take of a character that doesn't exist from a fictional world that never happened. He went on to talk about how not everything that merely alludes to another culture is racist or cultural approbation. Halloween was always fun because it wasn't politically correct. Now, not being PC was almost the whole point of the holiday. But now everything, he says, has to be turned into a federal case of snowflakes versus humor. He went on to point to a recent study that revealed 80% of Americans were completely turned off by the PC culture, the politically correct. He said the majority of America is with the Democrats on this issue. They just find the woke people irritating. To them, nobody likes you, including the so-called marginalized groups whose feelings you decide need protecting. And he wondered aloud, when did liberals become the fun police? Bill Maher's a liberal. He can't take it either. Do you remember when you were a child what Halloween was like? Now, I'm talking to people that are 60 years old or older. You remember Halloween? For me, it was a neighborhood thing. Never wandered more than a couple of blocks from where I lived. You went out with the kids you played with, people that you knew. You knocked only on doors in your neighborhood, or if outside it was somebody you knew, probably one of your kids' parents, that you played with around the corner. And if you didn't know them, your parents did. Sometimes they put you in a car and took you to grandma's, and you scare her to death. That's what it is. We wore cowboy outfits and princess outfits, cartoon characters, or classic characters from the storybooks. If your parents had a little money, you might have gotten a store-bought costume. I didn't know very many people who did. Largely because there weren't that many around. The store-bought costumes, that is. It was a fun time. It was not a gruesome, scary, frightening time. And I ask myself, when did all that change? When did it become this? And you might point to the fact that it isn't a godly thing. It's more of a demonic thing. It's from the forces on the other side. So it's always been like that. But that is the way we acted it out. You see, it changed with cable TV. About the time cable TV was becoming popular, all the gory, scary, frightening stuff started. Usually bringing movies to cable that couldn't be shown on television. And eventually this genre became occultic and then demonic. Remember the little girl's head spinning around? That was in the movie. Well, that showed up on cable TV. Now I guess they will show it, on Saturday afternoon. It eventually became destructive. All Hallowed Saints' Eve is where we get this phrase Halloween. That's the holiday. Holiday is a contraction for the words holy day. Ironic. All Hallowed Saints' Eve in the Roman Catholic tradition was when the wicked spirits wandered the earth in search of a home. According to the World Book Encyclopedia, the origin of Halloween can be traced to the ancient pagan festival celebrated by Celtic people over 2,000 years ago, something called Samhain. The Celts believed that the dead could walk among the living at this time. And during Samhain, the living could visit with the dead. According to the book entitled Halloween, An American Holiday, and American History, some of the Celts wore ghoulish costumes so that wandering spirits would mistake them for one of their own and leave them alone. Others offered sweets to the spirits in order to appease them. However, the Bible clearly teaches us that the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything, neither have they any more a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. There are no wandering spirits of dead people. You encounter a wandering spirit, it's an unholy demon. It's not your grandfather. In medieval Europe, the Roman Catholic clergy adopted local pagan customs. It was a common thing around the world. They would embrace whatever the religious systems were there, and they would find ways to say, hey, we're just like you, or you're just like us, and see, you can come and do this. And they had their people go from house to house wearing costumes and requesting small gifts on this day in honor of this paganism that was going on anyhow. But the Bible admonishes Christians to, quote, come out from among them, the unbelievers, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. Unclean isn't just something that's dirty. It's spiritually dirty. And I will receive you, and I will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Why? Well, the Apostle Paul goes on, for what agreement hath the temple of God, which is what Christians really are, what agreement do they have with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, as God hath said, I will dwell in them, and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. God's people have nothing to do with this stuff. Now, the reality is that ghosts and vampires and werewolves and witches and zombies and all the rest of it have been long associated with the evil spirit world. While the Bible clearly states that we should oppose wicked spiritual forces, not celebrate them. Our Halloween trick-or-treating harkens back to medieval Britain, where people would go door to door asking for food in return for a prayer for the dead. They would carry hollowed-out turnip lanterns whose candle represented a soul trapped in purgatory. This from a book entitled Hallowe'en, From Pagan Ritual to Party Night. Others say the lanterns were used to ward off evil spirits. In North America during the 1800s, pumpkins substituted for turnips, being more plentiful and easier to hollow out and carve. None of this is supported by the only record known to mankind about the spirit world. That would be the Bible. Because the Bible warns very early on, there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, an enchanter, a witch, a charmer, a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer, people who talk to the dead. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before you. The nation of Israel went through the promised land with the goal of clearing it out of all of this stuff. And we here in Christian America have brought it all in. It's just a game. It's just fun. It is instructive that those representing Christianity in the earliest days were also the ones introducing all this spiritism into their worship. It's what happens when men ignore the Bible and begin to make up their own religion and spiritual forms. God hath spoken to his people through his word. Men would do well not to corrupt that word. The Apostle Paul says, I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. Why? You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and the table of devils. They're incompatible with each other. In my day, 100 years ago, Halloween was basically harmless fun. And it was all about candy. But it was just as evil. Perhaps more so for its benign character. As what these ancients were doing, it was acting out the same kinds of things. But today, all the ancient witchcraft, the spells, the horrors, all of that has been brought back into the system, into this holiday. The word holiday is a contraction of holy day. Halloween is about being scared out of your mind. And the scary stuff, it's all about the macabre scenes of death and dismemberment, blood and guts, not to mention the naked female form. Frightening images and experiences we willingly allow to be imprinted on our minds, even little minds, in the name of what? Wow, fun. Oh, and Halloween, All Hallowed Saints' Eve, we have all become hardened against that which is holy, and we are embracing of all that is unholy, even if we do it in the name of fun.